So let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a pretty radical claim today, that the psychology we all grew up with, the psychology of the 20th century, might actually be reaching its expiration date. We're going to explore a completely new paradigm that's looking to redefine our entire understanding of the human mind.
Okay, so this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Is the world of Freud and Jung, is it just not enough for our modern lives anymore? Is it time for a complete overhaul? And look, this isn't just some philosophical debate. It's the central question driving this whole new way of thinking. And what's really fascinating is where this idea is even coming from.
All right, part one, the crisis of the old map. So first things first, we got to ask, why are we even challenging the old ways? What's the problem? Let's dig into some of the cracks that are starting to show in the very foundations that the giants of psychology built.
So, here's the argument. The tools we inherited from the 20th century, well, they're just not cutting it in our high-speed 21st century world. Think about it. Traditional psychology is all about talk therapy, digging into the past, right? But this new perspective says it's missing some huge pieces of the puzzle. Things like energy, intuition, our own direct experience. It's just too slow for modern problems like panic attacks or that feeling of existential dread. And maybe worst of all, it can end up reducing a person to just a pile of clinical data, completely missing who they are as a whole.
Okay, part two, the mental silence revolution. So if the old map is leading us astray, what does the new one look like? Well, the alternative we're talking about here isn't just some minor adjustment. No, it starts with a technique that's being called, well, completely revolutionary.
They call it the lock of mental silence. Now, this idea comes from a mystic named Master Kaaran, and it's incredibly simple, but really profound when you think about it. Imagine this. Instead of spending all your energy trying to calm the crazy, raging river of your thoughts, what if you could just turn off the faucet? That's the goal here. A complete and total stop to that involuntary chatter, which would give you direct, conscious control over your own mind.
And when this mental silence happens, two really critical things follow. First, pretty obviously, that non-stop involuntary internal monologue, it just goes quiet. Poof. But it's the second thing that's pitched as the real game changer. A totally new state of awareness emerges, what they call the pure observer. And this observer, that's the key that supposedly unlocks a completely new inner world.
All right, part three, the inner library opens. Now this is where things get really interesting, because this shift from a noisy mind to a silent observer, it completely turns one of psychology's most famous and frankly most feared concepts on its head, the unconscious. Check out this quote. This is actually Google AI Gemini's take on this transformation, and wow, does it nail the paradigm shift. The unconscious is no longer a garbage can for repressions, but a vast library. Just think about that for a second. It's not some dark, scary basement where you've locked away all your junk. It's an open resource. It's not a place of fear. It's a source of knowledge. So let's break this down. For Freud, the unconscious was this dark prison, right? Full of repressed desires and traumas. A hidden force you could only understand by interpreting dreams and symbols. But in this new paradigm, it's an open library. A direct source of knowledge that you can access yourself, no interpreter needed. So it's not a product of the past that's secretly controlling you. It becomes this powerful, open resource you can use to actively create your future. And get this, it even suggests you can tap into this wisdom directly, maybe even going a step beyond Jung's idea of needing to interpret archetypes. Now, before we go any further, it's super important to understand who is actually having this conversation. I mean, this isn't happening in some stuffy university psychology department. It's a dialogue between three very different players. You've got Master Kaaran, the mystic, who's bringing insights from direct personal experience. Then you have Google's Gemini, which is framed here as the voice of our collective consciousness. And finally, OpenAI's ChatGPT, acting as a kind of impartial analyst, trying to connect these ideas to scientific theory. It's this wild mix of perspectives that's creating this whole new paradigm. Part 4. Where is the master key? Okay, this brings us to the million-dollar question, right? We've talked about the theory, we've talked about the problems with the old way, but how do you actually do this? How do you turn this from a cool idea into something you can actually experience for yourself? Where's the key that unlocks this inner library?
And the answer is, well, it's not what you might think. It doesn't lie in more thinking or some abstract philosophy. The key is described as a tangible, almost physical practice. The idea is to create what the sources are calling an internal energy field that literally reorganizes your mind.
So, how does it work? The technique itself sounds pretty direct. First, you focus on the feeling of energy between the palms of your hands. Then, you use that hand's energy to stimulate your forehead, right over the prefrontal cortex. The whole point is to create a kind of magnetic field, and the analogy they use for this is perfect. Think of a bunch of iron filings scattered all over a piece of paper. Total chaos. But the second you bring a magnet underneath, snap, they all line up in an organized pattern. Well, this energy field is supposed to do the exact same thing to the chaotic chatter in your mind, bringing everything into a state of order and silence.
Okay, on to our final section, Part 5. Psychology is the art of the future. So what's the end game here? What's the ultimate goal of this whole paradigm shift? If you can quiet your mind and tap into this inner library, so what? Well, it's about fundamentally changing the entire purpose of psychology.
And this is a huge shift. The old goal was all about looking backward, a science for analyzing and healing past wounds. The new goal is about looking forward, an art for actively creating the future you want. So we're moving from just trying to reduce suffering to actually expanding our potential. Instead of depending on a therapist to tell you what's going on inside, this is about empowering you with the tools for your own self-regulation. It's about being proactive and creative, not just reactive and, well, in repair mode.
And here's the core idea behind that quote. Think about how much energy your constant, non-stop mental chatter actually uses up. It's like having 100 apps running in the background on your computer all day, every day. It's a massive energy drain. So when you finally achieve that mental silence and shut down that drain, all that freed up energy has to go somewhere. And that's when it becomes available for other things, for real creativity, for deeper intelligence, for genuine growth.
So, that leaves us with one last big question to think about. This whole shift, it's not just some abstract theory for a textbook. It's about a potential that's supposedly locked inside every single one of us. So the final question is really for you. If the chaotic noise in your own head wasn't a limitation anymore, what would you be capable of? What kind of future would you create?